India receives 80% of its annual rainfall during the southwest monsoon season of June to September. The rainfall over the country during the season shows a wide range of spatial variation due to orographic influences and preferential occurrence of rain bearing systems in certain regions. The floods are most common during these seasons. The floods cause damage to life and property. Floods in India account for 40% of deaths caused by natural disasters. Hence, let us first understand what is flood. A flood is an overflow of water that submerges the land that is dry. Alternatively, it can also be defined as an overflow of large amount of water beyond its normal limits, especially over what is normally dry land. Apart from this, the inundation of land and human settlements with the rise of the water in the channels and its spillover can also be called as flooding. Floods are most recurrent phenomenon and destructive natural hazards causing extensive damage to land and human settlements, infrastructure, public and private services, environment and economy. 40 million hectare area of India is flood prone, which is 1/8 of the total area. The most flood prone areas are also in Indo-Gangetic plains, Brahmaputra and Indus basins. In India, the states affected by floods include UP, Bihar, West Bengal, Orissa, Haryana, Punjab, Gujarat, Karnataka and Maharashtra. However, with the ongoing climate change, it can happen anywhere in the country. The types of floods can be defined and described as per their duration. The floods can be typed like slow flooding, rapid flooding and flash flooding. As per the National Weather Service, flood is typically caused by rising water from a river or stream and can last for days or weeks. A flash flood, on the other hand, is typically the result of a heavy rain and happens quickly, usually within 3 to 6 hours of heavy rainfall. Flooding can also be typed as per location like coastal, arroyo, river and urban, as the name suggests. If a flood is associated with cyclone, high tides and tsunami, it is called as coastal flood. The melting of snow or precipitation over a large catchment causes rivers to overflow, and that is called a river flood. While arroyo is a steep-sided gully formed by the action of fast-flowing water in an arid or semi-arid region, found chiefly in southwestern US. The name arroyo is primarily a gender-neutral name of Spanish origin that means water channel or irrigation channel. It translates from Spanish to mean dry stream and is an apt way to describe what an arroyo is: dry at times and flowing at others. Now let's see what are the causes of flood. This can be divided into two parts, that is anthropogenic and natural. The vegetation hampers the flow of water and forces it to percolate in the ground. But when the land is barren, it becomes obstruction free for water flow with greater speed into the rivers, resulting into flood as a part of the deforestation, which is one of the anthropogenic causes of floods. Similarly, drainage system. The congestion is caused by the bad planning of infrastructure like construction of bridges, roads, railway tracks, canals, etc., which hampers the flow of water, resulting in flood. This is a growing menace and needs to be tackled by the civic authorities as a part of a planned development in an urgent manner. Population pressure is also one of the causes. A large number of people require more resources like food, wood, land, which aggravates over cultivation and soil erosion and which increases the risk of flooding. Water and sewerage management. This is like an old drainage and a sewer system needs to be replaced and match with the current needs of the population so that there is ease of operation and maintenance of the sewage system. The lack of O&M of hydrological systems. One can refer this to a Farakka barrage, which is a very recent example of Delhi floods in July 2023. Then lack of coordination amongst the multiple authorities in cities and metros is a glaring example, and therefore there has to be a well-coordinated approach for flood management. Apart from this, coordination with the neighboring countries like China, Nepal, Bhutan, etc. is also important to avoid any loss of life and property in the country. The cross-border early warning systems between India and Nepal is relevant for flood resilience. This activity has implemented a community-based flood early warning system in the Terai belt on the Karnali River system located on the Indo-Nepal border. The natural causes include heavy rainfall, cyclone, tsunami, sediment deposition in the river, change in the course of river, absence of lakes, etc. Now let's also see what are the consequences and how the floods can be controlled. Floods may cause loss of agricultural land and valuable crops, thus impairing agriculture production and loss to the society and economy. The damage to the physical infrastructure like roads, bridges and human settlements also causes misery. People are rendered homeless as they lose their homes along with loss of their livestock and their livelihoods. Aftermath of the floods, the spread of waterborne diseases like cholera, hepatitis, etc. almost breaks the health of the society at large. The flood control measures includes afforestation, drainage system, embankments, lakes, ponds, etc. Now if we see the afforestation, the planting trees in the catchment area of rivers is very important for the ecological balance to thwart floods. The operation and maintenance of the drainage system before the onset of monsoon should be the priority for any civic authorities. In fact, there is a pre-monsoon plan for such works which should invariably be implemented and checked and monitored. Now, embankments are building these would help the overflowing banks and the water spreading in the nearby area, and that is why these flood protection walls and embankments are very necessary. The Japan has done this kind of flood protection wall across its coastal areas. Now come to the lakes and ponds. The encroachment of lakes and ponds in the cities and metros should be cleared and the land should be freed from encumbrances of any kind to help prevent floods. Bangalore is one of the examples where the new settlements on the previous lakes ponds resulted in floods. Similarly, the natural reservoir can be preserved and artificial reservoirs can be built which could store the excess water at the time of floods. Now let's go about the forecasting and warning. India has several national organizations for weather forecasting and warning like India Meteorological Department under the Ministry of Earth Sciences, Government of India, which gives the real-time monitoring and statistical analysis of the district-wise rainfall across the country. It forecasts and issues weather bulletins on daily basis as well as hazard-specific bulletins for the region state to be on alert mode to take preventive and mitigation measures. It makes predictions of flood severity and time of onset of particular level of flooding. It also makes interpretations of the predictions and flood information to determine flood impacts on vulnerable communities. The Central Water Commission, under the aegis of Ministry of Jal Shakti, Government of India, has established a nationwide flood forecasting and warning system covering major interstate rivers. Indian Institute for Tropical Meteorology is a scientific institution based in Pune, Maharashtra, India, for expanding research in the tropical Indian Ocean with special reference to monsoon meteorology and air-sea interaction of South Asian climate. Similarly, National Institute of Oceanography, Government of India, based at Goa, delves into ocean research, and INCOIS Hyderabad deals with the forecast for tsunami. SAC ISRO at Ahmedabad deals with communication, broadcasting, navigation, disaster monitoring, meteorology, oceanography, environment monitoring, and natural resources survey. Now let's go towards the community-based flood forecasting and warning systems. While tackling floods, the awareness of people is very essential for preventing and mitigation measures. This can be done through media warnings, through print and electronic mediums like newspapers, TV, video, radio, and through technology by mass messaging, SMS, YouTube, and other social media websites, etc. However, for targeted flood warning to target areas through warning signals such as siren, hitting of a gong, steel pipes, temple/church bells, etc. can be done. Apart from this, dedicated automatic telephone warnings to at-risk properties information to communities in upstream and downstream from village to village is also necessary to save lives and property of the affected people. During the floods, the involvement of communities is very important. Individuals can be appointed for taking care of installations of the equipment and trained as gauge readers for manual instruments like rain gauge and water level recorder. Similarly, radio operators can be employed to report real-time observations and monitoring of hydrological data regularly on daily basis without inclement weather condition. Now, as far as the dissemination of warning to the remote areas is concerned, awareness of people affected in the remote areas needs to be prioritized. This can be done through community/FM radio stations. They can also be supplied with clear and accurate information. It can also be done through mass messaging and use of mobile operators, use of Doordarshan and local cable channels, use of appointed community wardens with direct two-way radio, high frequency very high frequency communication sets or mobile phones. Access to warning agencies and emergency authorities can also be employed. Local means of raising alarms like sirens, loud hailers, loudspeakers, temple/church bells, etc. Especially those people who are caught in the island/sea satellite, a satellite-based disaster warning system like satellite phones, early warning systems, use of ham radios, use of high-end technology for spreading of warning like mass mobile messaging, social media, etc. can also be used to prevent lives.